Hello YouTube. It's 2:36 p.m. October 6, 2021. Thursday afternoon. That's right, dude. I'm legally in a crosswalk. Slow the fuck down. Yeah, I don't think that guy was doing 25 miles per hour, which is the speed limit here on 48th Street. Gosh, what's happening today? Yesterday's videos were awful. I watched chunks of them and was like, wow, that happened. But yeah, it certainly was a reminder of better pre-planning on my journeys, which I feel like I kind of rectified that in the second half of the night. And I do wish I'd have shot a little bit more video, but I ended up running out of space and wasn't able to free up enough space to shoot any video after. Well, I mean, I could have shot some more crap video on the Obama phone, but yeah, after the sun goes down, that thing's just worthless. So yeah, I couldn't shoot any video on the iPhone after I left the Union Jack, unfortunately. But I had a pretty productive time. I only got four songs added to my karaoke library. I did preview a fifth one and decided against adding it. It was one thing you kind of got to watch with homebrew karaoke, which I would say Funbox Karaoke kind of falls into that category, is that sometimes they take liberties with the versions. I shouldn't even just limit it to them. I mean, some commercial karaoke companies have done that as well, come to think of it. I mean, there's of taking liberties and creating karaoke for things that don't exist in the real world. As in, a song that you would have in your record library that you would want to sing and emulate at a karaoke bar. Wow, he's actually stopping. What a novel concept. Come to think of it, Zoom is kind of famous for this. Zoom has got a whole bunch of medleys that they put out for popular artists that are not based on any medleys that are actually released and available of those artists, which I guess is cool if you're a karaoke host and you can preview those versions and kind of learn the arrangements, but certainly not worth putting in a karaoke catalog for random people to come in and sing, just because you have no way of knowing what that medley is going to be like. Now, I have made some exceptions for some medleys like that in instances where they've been commercially released. Like I do have, I think it's called the Purple Medley from Prince, and that was released on, I forget what 12-inch vinyl single it was released on, but it was released commercially on a 12-inch vinyl single, and I think also on a CD single. And I made a point to title it in my catalog exactly as it's titled on the record. So, and I think you can actually search it by that title and listen to it on YouTube as well. So it's, that's a legitimate thing. I'm down for adding that. And another one I know that I've added is a commercially released medley of CCR's hits. But as far as ones that are just made up by karaoke companies, I don't add those. And this thing from Funbox Karaoke definitely met that description. It was supposed to be for oh my goodness, I forget the name of the song. Anyway, it's a song off, like, kind of one of the first notable singles for They Might Be Giants. She Was a Hotel Detective, that's the name of the song, off their first album. And that song did inspire two sequels that came out years later, each released separately. To my knowledge, They Might Be Giants has never released it as a medley of all three songs, but the Funbox Karaoke version has all three songs just kind of jammed together. And yeah, not only is that a non-existent thing in the real world, but I try to avoid having people singing for over 7 minutes straight. That way I can cycle on to my other singers, and all three of those songs together was that. And it also seems unfair to me if somebody's, when you've got a rotation of singers waiting to sing, it seems awfully unfair to me that somebody suddenly has to wait for somebody to sing 3 songs while they're waiting to sing their one song. So, in the interest of fairness, after I previewed that and researched that, and realized what in fact it was, I decided against putting it in my karaoke. So, wow, sensors must not be working at all because the green left arrow is on, and there is nobody on the sensors on 48th Street. And wish I was in direct contact with some traffic engineer in the city of Phoenix, because I see so much of this kind of stuff, and I just kind of like a direct route to point it out. It's like, come on, come fix this. Come fix this. That said, note to self that that is a dysfunction of that light, and it did get me across the intersection a little faster and safer. Knowing, even though I had a don't walk sign and there was a red light, realizing that that's what was going on, I just kept walking. So, oh gosh, I wasn't going to talk about that karaoke. That wasn't the plan. But I'm talking about that karaoke. So, I added the 2 remaining They Might Be Giant songs that I had from Funbox Karaoke. One of which is a song I never heard, from an album they did in the early 90s, and it also appeared on the Malcolm in the Middle soundtrack, called Older. It's a little 2.5-minute song. It's just quirky as hell. And I wish I could committed it to memory enough to sing a few bars of it right now, but I do believe it's embedded in my memory enough that if I have the right crowd, I can just bust that out and probably fake my way through it. But it was a fun little song exploring the concept of every moment you're a little older, and every passing moment you're older than the moment before. And man, I feel that one. I felt that one. In fact, right now, you are older than when you started watching this video. That's right. So put that in your pipe and smoke it. I forget what the other song was that I added. It was something that they put out kind of recently. I want to say like within the last 4 or 5 years that, of course, I haven't heard. And I guess I've become one of those. I often criticize people who are fans of bands that are all into their stuff when they were in their prime and then just absolutely stop paying attention to them as they continue to put out music. And I'm guilty of being that fan with They Might Be Giants. I've listened to so very little of their output within the last, say, 20 years. I've listened to some. Nanobots, I definitely got into that song, and that video was freaking brilliant. But aside from a few random songs that have kind of got through to me via YouTube, I certainly haven't been following them to see when they're releasing songs, when they're releasing albums, and getting full albums from them. In fact, I think the last full-length album I got from They Might Be Giants was, and I got a feeling I'm gonna get the number wrong on the title of the album because I had numbers, but I want to say it's Apollo 18, which, to be fair, didn't really rock my world. It had a handful of songs on it that I liked, but it didn't rock my world as an album. Unlike Flood, which is the album that it's not how I discovered They Might Be Giants, but it's a full-length album I got from They Might Be Giants, and that album rocks my world to this day. Even got to share that one with my older daughter on a road trip we took maybe about a year ago, and she seemed pretty impressed with it as well. It's like, this is the most one, it's just like wonderfully nerdy. I'm like, oh hell yeah. These guys are onto something. It's like, it's quirky and weird and nerdy, but yet the lyrics, most of them have pretty deep and underlying messages. Even the little tiny short songs, like the one that goes, minimum wage, yeah, Yeah, that kind of sums up minimum wage. Although, man, I see people complaining about minimum wage now, and I get it's inadequate in a lot of places, but I think right now the minimum wage in Arizona is $12.50 an hour, which, granted, is not enough to support a family, nor should it be. It's not enough to support a person living by themselves in an apartment either. But in the kind of a roommate situation that I had when I was, say, 19 years old, or for that matter, in the situation I was in when I was, say, 23-year-old, shacking up with a girlfriend that I had intentions of marrying. Boy, I can't even say that with a straight face now. Yeah, $12.50 an hour would have made ends meet. And is that accounting for inflation? No, it's not. And have I done the numbers to see where that levels up accounting for inflation? No, I haven't. But it strikes me as definitely more than the $3.35 an hour that I was paid as minimum wage when I worked at McDonald's when I was 16. So, and why am I talking about that? I had an interesting exchange with somebody on Reddit. And you're having an exchange, the person you're having an exchange with on Reddit, and mind you, this wasn't in the DMs, this was just open and inside the comments under a post in a really busy subreddit. I don't even remember which subreddit it was, because we had ended up getting so completely off topic in this thread. And unfortunately, it had died down by the time that I engaged him, that nobody else threw their 2 cents in, and nobody's voting it up or voting his comments up or voting mine down. But when somebody is having a conversation with you like that, their end of, in an argument, for lack of a better term, argument with you in a forum like that, their position really lacks merit when they post their comment, and then before you have a chance to look at their comment and respond to their comment, they've deleted it. And dude, I certainly got the first paragraph of, I don't know what all you wrote, but I got the first paragraph of it in my email. I had those notifications on, and that was enough to tell that you're fucking up your life. Not that I'm exactly an example of a life, well lived, but I'm still making progress every day, such as it is. I do hope to get my car back soon. That's being handled, sort of. I'm not putting any pressure on my mechanic to hurry up with it because A, I know that shit happens and there's delays, and B, I also know that he put in something like $300 out of his own pocket to pay for my motor that I didn't have. Dude can take his sweet fucking time on the car. At this point, I kind of feel like I needed a little wake-up call myself, just to with some of the comments I've been putting in on public transit-related videos and debates I've been having with people about cars versus using transit versus using other transportation options. I figured it was time that I tried to see, hey, can it be done without a car? And it hasn't been easy, but I'm getting things done. Got another $100 Taylor Swift album on its way to the post office right now, and I'm choosing to walk it just because I thought it'd be fun to shoot this vlog, and this would give me time to do it. And it's not too brutally hot outside, and there's a little overcast, so the sun beating me up like it was yesterday. So yeah, I got that. That's another $100 going forward. And there's expense. I mean, I have to pay to ship it. That's going to cost me about $3.50 ish. And I'm going to put that on a credit card for straight convenience sake. And yeah, not everybody has that convenience, but that's a convenience I've definitely earned. So at this point, I'm still trying to stack up cash as much as I can. And I'm hearing, by doing that while balancing credit, I hear Dave Ramsey screaming at me in my head that I'm an idiot. But for the most part, it does seem to be working. Because generally speaking, when bills are due, I've been able to pay them, or at least able to come close to paying them. Because I've made sure that small expenses like this shipping is getting paid with a credit card, which defers it a little bit, and making sure that cash flow that comes in is going to bills that are due now. So, and no, I don't like living this close. I mean, this is in reality, in reality, I'm walking a fine line that's even tighter than living paycheck to paycheck. But I couldn't tell you the exact numbers. But I do know a good portion of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. So I'm not in a horrible minority with that. But yeah, I mean, I got $100 coming in from this record. I'm not sure when that'll post, but it'll post soon. And I do believe I paid $15 for it. In fact, I'm absolutely sure I paid $15 for it. Now, I have been sitting on it. I've been sitting on it about 10 months. Had I sold this record 10 months ago, I would have probably only got 25 or 30 for it. But because I had other records that were, I had other stuff to sell at that time. And I kind of figured that this would be a record that would appreciate in value over that time. So I sat on this one while I sold other ones. I mean, the reality is I can only complete so many listings in a given amount of time. And I've definitely decided on eBay that more, even though it takes a longer amount of time, I get more sales with good, solid, complete listings rather than just scan and go, scan and go, scan and go. Now, I've never really sat and looked at the, compared like my eBay numbers with somebody who just scans and goes and scans and goes. Obviously Declutter's doing a good business, but I just take a little more pride in that, in how I run my eBay stuff and what my listings look like. And it enables me to get, some more money for the items that I do sell. And for the most part, I get really, really, really good feedback. In fact, I only got one piece of neutral feedback in the last, maybe 2 years. And I forget what it was over, but I know it was pretty freaking stupid. And anyway, I think it had to do with the amount of time it took for me to get it shipped to him. And it was just a matter of I was just busy with other shit, and that sale was just not enough to justify the time needed to get it immediately to the post office in light of other sales that happened or didn't happen at the time. Oh, and the other issue had to do with how I was mailing it, because it wasn't something that qualified for media mail. Still haven't fully grappled with how to best do that stuff. Although my last non-media mail sale just did complete, and I think when all was said and done, I made a couple bucks on it. So can't complain, and hopefully the guy in the Midwest is enjoying his knit beanie, which cost me absolutely nothing. Yeah, so back to the debate with the guy on Reddit. He left this long, and just for the record, I'm not the guy that derailed that comment thread. He is. He had left a long, detailed rant about how he worked 70 to 80 hours a week for Uber Eats and wasn't making any money, how it was just giving him enough, like he's not getting money. What he's getting is late notices on his bills, and that he's got a bunch of pets that he can't afford to feed, and he's behind on his rent, blah, 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 blah. But he's just, working all these hours, and it came off like just pretty ridiculous. And the next person that replied to that replied, and it kind of like, he kind of came to the conclusion of, well, it's just because greedy corporations. And are greedy corporations a thing? Hell yeah. Is it a problem? Hell yeah. Would never disagree with that. Is Uber Eats paying their drivers enough? I really can't answer that, because they won't even give me the opportunity to drive for them. I've vlogged about that on many occasions. I got a felony 25 years ago, so I'm not qualified to deliver other people's food in my own vehicle. It doesn't make any sense to me, but that is what it is. So this guy is given more opportunity than I've been given. But I do know this: if I was driving for them and I was working 70 to 80 hours a week and it wasn't bringing enough cash to pay my bills, I would do something else. I wouldn't keep doing that. Oh my gosh. And then he's, and so anyway, the guy that responded to him was like, yeah, well, I know you're joking, but you're right about corporations and stuff. Yeah, I agreed. His point about corporations, I agreed with. I never disagreed with that. I did disagree with his contention that he was an employee, because he's not. He's an independent contractor. I do wish in high school that those types of topics were part of the curriculum, because I do believe a lot of adults don't know the difference between contract work and being an employee. And it's a pretty big deal. It really is. I mean, I've had an entrepreneurial spirit since I was a little kid. I didn't grow up butt-ass poor, but I didn't exactly come from a life of privilege either. And throw in the divorce drama that was my childhood, and things that I was given I often didn't get to keep. It was given to me by one parent or the other parent. And I quickly found out that if I wanted things that I was really into, I needed to figure out a way to hustle and get them myself. And by the time I was, I want to say 12, well, even younger than that, I learned there were things I could do to hustle up cash, whether that was mowing the neighbor's lawn, or raking their leaves, or taking out an elderly neighbor's garbage for them. Even if they only gave me a couple bucks, that was a couple bucks I could spend buying new 45s. I mean, my passion as a young child, and to this day, was music. My parents would only buy me so many records, and it wasn't nearly as many as I wanted. And by the time I was 14, my parents would only buy me so many Atari cartridges, and it wasn't nearly as many as I wanted. And by the time I was, 14, I was doing a lot of yard work around the neighborhood, and I had not one but 2 paper routes. And in most of those endeavors, even though I didn't realize it at that time, I was very much self-employed. I wasn't receiving a paycheck. I wasn't receiving any benefits. And I had to hustle up my own work. The more work I wanted, the more I had to hustle. And I'm still kind of doing that to this day. And maybe my life would be a lot better if I had a corporate job, but I question how happy I would be. I definitely question how happy I would be. Anyway, so this guy doubled down on the guy going, "Oh no, I'm not joking," and then kind of doubled down on how bad his situation was and how hard he was working and how it just wasn't fair that the government wasn't solving the problem for him. I can't even say that without laughing. Yeah, the government's job to do that, man. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm all for some safety nets for the most vulnerable people, and I'm also a proponent of UBI to a point. I just read an article today about how Spain is proposing a UBI for qualifying working young adults to encourage them to move out of their parents' homes. And yeah, I'm all for that. That sounds great. And the raging debate that was going on under the subreddit that was posted in was sure entertaining. Some people going, well, that's, oh my God, $350 a month, that's nothing. You know, are you looking at the cost of living versus the average income for a young adult in Spain? Or are you just looking at your situation and wherever you live in the United States? But that aside, you know, for the people that were like, oh, I live in the United States and that ain't nothing. And there's one person that said, well, that's just $350 a month. That's nothing. That's only a third of my rent. And I replied to that guy. I was like, hey, you know, it's less than a third of my rent, but I wouldn't say it's nothing. $350 a month would be a game changer for me. $350 a month. If I had an extra $350 a month UBI coming in, I would have never got behind on my power bill, which, by the way, is actually not only paid current right now, but I'm about $5 ahead. So kind of excited about that. I haven't got a confirmation that SRP has received it, but SRP already told me, hey, I have nothing to worry about as far as fees are getting shut off because I've been in constant contact with them, and that I do have a good payment history. In fact, I had a great conversation with the SRP representative about, you know, how I was just really didn't want to be on Empower, which is like prepaid on a card, pay as you go, ghetto way of getting electricity. And she's like, no, the people that are on Empower, they've not paid their bills and continue to not pay their bills and have racked up balances and owe us a lot of money. That's why they're on Empower. She's like, you're golden. Like you know, even though you got a ways behind, there's not been a single month that you haven't sent us something. So yeah, there's that. So I'm pretty excited upon that. But yeah, I commented that, yeah, $350 a month, that's something that would have been the difference between me getting the difference that would stop me from getting behind on my electric bill when I did. So anyway, back to that other guy. My advice to him was to, and I'm at the post office, but I really want to get this off my chest. My advice to him was that he needed to recognize that he was not an employee. He was running his own business, and also recognize that he's doing a terrible job of it. And then I offered, you know, instead of just bagging on the guy, I offered some suggestions, because one of the things he was going off about was how he was trapped in that. He was trapped in that because he couldn't get a job, because he couldn't go, if he went 2 to 3 weeks without income waiting for a paycheck, that he wouldn't be able to pay his bills, his expenses. He wouldn't be able to eat. He wouldn't be able to pay his car note. He wouldn't be able to pay his rent. Would probably get evicted. Blah blah blah. So yeah, I can't get a job. So I had said, you know, to get a job. Maybe this was his first response to me about, you know, hey, just if you know, you don't have a job, you have a business, and you're not running it very well, and you should get a job. I do think my first response to him was actually pretty short and curt, and usually, I mean, yeah, my first response to somebody in a situation like that is usually pretty short and kind of curt, and just and I see where it goes from there. But yeah, he responded about how, yeah, he wouldn't be able to eat, and he wouldn't be able to whatever, waiting 2-3 weeks for a job. And my response to him on that was, especially considering specifically he was doing Uber Eats, was, hey, have you considered driving a real taxi? And you know, the last time that about 2 months ago I was driving for VIP Taxi and was making over $300 a day doing that after expenses. Because he also in his comment had talked about how it wasn't fair that he couldn't qualify for food stamps because his payments from Uber Eats didn't take into account what he had to spend in gas and maintenance for his car, which is absolutely true. That's not his income. That's his that's just a line on his ledger as a business owner. And if he's presenting it to government assistance programs as his income, he's not doing it right. But I do understand where government programs are going to have trouble trying to understand what's going on, especially considering this guy apparently doesn't understand his own finances. So anyway, yeah, I told him, have you considered driving a real cab? So after expenses, I was taking home over $300 a day. And I do think I mentioned that I only did it for 4 days. 4 days, 2 months ago. Took home $300 a day. And then I also suggested that he try getting a job at a bar and restaurant where he would get food and tips. That way he wouldn't have to worry about feeding himself, and he would have steady income while waiting the 2 to 3 weeks to get a first paycheck. And I forget what all else I said, but that was the gist of it. And also, and for what it's worth, that I saw that Wendy's was offering daily pay, which I did. I saw that the other day. I stopped in to get a cheeseburger while I was transferring buses, while I was handling the U.S. West Bank disaster, which I don't think or not U.S. West, but U.S. Bank auto payment issue I was having, which I think I started talking about it and then kind of got distracted and never really finished it. But yeah, that's a rant for another time. I will get into that. Now's not the time to. Oh my God, over 32 minutes. Yeah, I need to wrap this up, or I'll never get it uploaded. But yeah, the what do you call it? But yeah, I did see, and I don't think that's a good opportunity for me. I'm not that eager to work around people that are a third my age, slinging burgers and fries for even though I do believe they're probably paying $14 an hour, and but yeah, I did see they're offering daily pay. But I tell you, if I was as down as this guy was claiming he is, I would be considering it. And if I was as young as I get the feeling this guy is, I would also be considering it. Anyway, threw that all up there, and that's when he responded to me and then deleted his response. So I don't know what his full response was, but I basically copied and pasted that back in of like, hey, I didn't see your whole response that you deleted, but I can respond to this piece that showed up in my email and put it out there so everybody else could see it. And he's just like, so what you're telling me is that I should take my day's income and spend that on a taxi lease to make more money, or take a job at a restaurant for $7 an hour and wait 2 to 3 weeks for a paycheck. And my reply to that was that, no, I'm saying you should invest some of your day's time into seeing what your local cab companies have to offer. And it's through my personal experience out. Like when I started back at AAA Cab, at VIP Taxi. I need to go back to AAA Cab, to be honest. But when I started with VIP Taxi, my first day's lease, I didn't have to pay. My first day was free. I didn't know that until I went down and inquired about it. But I told him, it's like my first day was free. The first day I didn't have to pay a lease. And that day I brought in more than $400 in cash. So paying my lease the next day was no problem whatsoever. And
It's that the only real sacrifice was that I wasted a day and a half on training, which was unpaid, which I didn't feel I needed. But sometimes you got to make those sacrifices. And then as to the bar and restaurant thing, and it's like, yes, I'm saying that you should consider getting a job at a bar and restaurant, and waiting, for $7 an hour, and then I put in all caps, and tips, and food, and that most of the bartenders and waitresses I know make $30 or more an hour that they take home every day, and laugh at their paychecks. In fact, most bartenders and waitresses I know, once their taxes on their credit card tips come out, their paycheck is an absolute joke. They don't even think about their paycheck. I know some waitresses that sometimes, and bartenders that sometimes will wait till 2 or 3 paychecks stack up before they bother to actually go in and get them, if it involves going in during daytime hours. But it's like, the money is in tips, dude. Pull your head out of your ass. And then if you're there and you're eating, you won't have to worry about it. And I definitely mentioned that that any restaurant or bar worth working at will feed you. I mean, straight up, if you're working in food service,